All right, everybody, welcome back. So if you didn't get your answers in, definitely write them in. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Fox Local. So definitely join in on the stream, join in on the fun. Coming up after our next block, we'll talk about why you're actually answering this. Something pretty cool happened in the morning sky this morning. So if you were up early, you probably saw it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to switch gears to the tropics real quick. So taking a look right here, we're really starting to see things heat up in the tropics. So right now, we are watching a struggling Gabrielle. You can kind of see it here. It's very much barely holding together. We can see here in Gabrielle just continuing to, again, hold things very, very loosely of what we can see right here. And what we are right now seeing is just a very broad circulation, but it's still holding tropical storm strength. And I do see a question coming in from Fritz about hurricane prediction models such as the American GFS, the UK. Is there one model statistically more accurate than the others? We'll get to that in a second, Fritz, but that is a great question. And the best thing really to do, and especially from a forecasting standpoint, is to take into consideration all of them, but there are definitely ones that do a little bit better, especially a little bit further out when we're talking about a system that is holding together or not quite completely formed, which is what we're going to be talking about coming up in a second. But that is a great question. We're going to circle back to that in 1 second, but here's the latest. This is the 11 a.m. update. Next update comes up at 5 p.m. And what we're going to be seeing with Gabrielle is this system is barely going to hold together. So anything under 45 miles per hour is technically not considered a tropical storm, but it is set to kind of barely hold together until it starts to tighten up again and then eventually reach that Category 1 strength. And Bermuda is slowly coming out of that cone of uncertainty. This time yesterday, this cone was actually shifted a little bit more off to the west, and Bermuda was still in that cone of uncertainty, and now they are right on the border. So things are looking a little bit better that Bermuda is not going to be getting a direct hit from this storm, which is good. But still, Gabrielle is expected to reach that Category 1 hurricane strength. Good news is, and basically reason why I'm kind of rambling on, it's not coming anywhere near the U.S. Great news right there. However, we could still be seeing some very rough surf coming up as we take a look at the weekend. So reason why we're not going to be feeling the impacts is because we have a large low pressure system kind of creating this little bit of a boundary, and anything that happens in the higher atmosphere kind of gets translated down into the lower parts of the atmosphere. So we have this very large wave kind of coming across the U.S., and because of this jet stream kind of creating this little bit of flow, anything that does form right now in the tropics is kind of going to follow that outwards and around this high that we're seeing over this Atlantic area in the basin. So that's something that we're going to be continuing to monitor. But right now, this system of Gabrielle is not going to be impacting us across the U.S. So, good news right there. But that also means that the tropics are definitely starting to wake up, because this time last year, this is when we really started to see that activity start to pick up. All the spaghetti models taking this away from Florida and the U.S. Good news right there. But something why we're going to be monitoring this storm is because of the ocean temperatures. And the ocean temperatures are very, very warm out there right now. So as we take a look, right now holding tropical storm strength, but as this storm kind of continues to make its way northward and kind of produce this little bit of a hook, we can see this is going to tap into some very warm ocean water. You can kind of see those little bits of yellow coming into the path, and we can see that that's just going to feed into the formation and the genesis, the re-strengthening of this storm, as it can create that Category 1 strength sometime early next week and into the end of the weekend. This is something that we're going to be focusing in on now. So Fritz on Facebook writing in, is there one model that you use more than the other model? I personally like to take all of them into consideration, but as we're talking about a system that's formed, it is looking like it's going to continue to strengthen, I personally like the European model. So the European model with this one right here, here's where we're watching, that little circle. That is right now our system. And so as we do take a look through the future, it's going to continue to, again, follow that little bit of a hook, staying way off the coast. And again, this time yesterday, Bermuda was quite literally in and closer to the yellow, but now it's getting further away, which is good for Bermuda for sure. But as we can see right here, this does mean strengthening. All of these little circles mean that there's pressure building and or pressure lowering in this case. So right here is where we could see the possibility of Hurricane Gabrielle, just as the National Hurricane Center is predicting, as well as it continuing to strengthen maybe even a little bit more before it breaks up off the coast of Nova Scotia. So again, this is hundreds of miles off the coast, but more just for geographic sense. This is quite literally in the middle of the Atlantic. So following the same steps as what we quite literally saw Erin take about 2 months before. So again, that's a look at the European model, and Fritz on Facebook. Hopefully that answers your question. So, Gabrielle is unfortunately not the only thing that we're watching in the tropics. So here, not only are we keeping an eye on Gabrielle, we're also keeping an eye on a 20% chance of development because of this wave that's coming off the Atlantic. And here you can see that wave right here, almost completely off the coast of Africa, should be completely off the coast of Africa by tomorrow. And again, here's Gabrielle right here. So we're keeping an eye on that for sure. That is going to continue to make its way westward. So here's Gabrielle. We kind of already talked about that. And here's the second system that's kind of set to make its way off the coast, continuing to make its way westward across the Atlantic. And from there, we're going to need to watch because this storm could become Umberto and then followed by Imelda, Jerry, Karen are the next couple of names on the list. But again, quick reminder, this is about when we saw everything really start to pick up this time last year. So here's a chart showing all the storm timelines from last year. Just over the middle of September, even towards the end of September right here, this is about when we were starting to see Helene really start to pick up, followed by quite literally rapid fire storms directly afterwards. So we're going to continue to watch that. And then the Climate Prediction Center, so National Hurricane Center takes a look at the next 7 days. Climate Prediction Center takes a look 2 and 3 weeks out, and they are clocking the possibility of tropical activity maybe starting to form up in the Gulf, as well as parts of the central Atlantic, which could be that next wave that's going to be making its way down the pipeline, kind of following Gabrielle. And then taking a look at even the beginning of October, seeing a further possibility of something brewing up more towards the Caribbean and Central America. And again, we're going to need to watch the central parts of the Atlantic as well, taking a look a little bit later on. So again, lots to keep track of, especially with the tropics. But for now, enjoy it. We're in a quiet area right now. Us in Florida, we're not going to be directly impacted yet. But again, this is kind of when we start to make that shift from when we see that activity really starting to fire up across the eastern Atlantic versus in the Gulf. The Gulf is when we really start to focus in. Probably about October, November is when the majority of the activity shifts just because of the features that are starting to brew up in areas across. All right, everybody, welcome back. And writing in, are you an early bird or a night owl? That was our question of the day today. Taking a look at our Facebook comments right now. Susan White writing in that she is a night owl. Bobby writing in on Facebook saying that they are an early bird. Martin writing in on Facebook saying that they are a night owl. Donna writing in that she is an early bird. Susan also writing in that she is a night owl. Fritz writing in that they are a night owl. And I think I got everybody. Let me do a quick check on YouTube. Looks like Joel is writing in that they are early birds. Joel and Deb watching on YouTube writing in that they are early birds. So personally, I was an early bird. Now I'm a night owl. I've kind of been on the evening shift of the news for so long that my night awakeness has definitely lasted quite a bit longer. So me personally, I am a night owl, which is one of the reasons why I actually missed the rocket launch early this morning, because that was at 5 a.m. this morning. So something that we were, I was hoping to see and actually get up. I tried, I promise, but I definitely missed that for sure. But if you were up, and all of my early birds that were there this morning did see this rocket launch. This was off of Cape Canaveral early this morning. Not only did you see the rocket launch, but you probably saw the clouds that were left by the rocket. And something that was pretty exciting that was seen earlier on this morning was a type of cloud that is only seen basically us here in Florida and in very specific conditions. So here is Jessica Dobson and Brooks Gardner with that and what you could have seen early on this morning. Take it away, guys.
Well, living on the Space Coast, sometimes you see strange things in the sky, and it all goes back to our space activities. A launch this morning produced a big exhaust plume way up into the atmosphere, and it did something very special to the sky.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the more exciting parts of the morning, I feel like, when it comes to the rocket launches, because it's not just the rocket that's so cool, it's what happens afterwards.
Yeah, it creates an early dawn sometimes. This happened an hour before dawn was supposed to happen, and what happened is a Noctilucent cloud. Now, that's a fancy term to describe a cloud that shimmers thanks to its extreme altitude forming from a rocket plume. You see, at dawn or in the hours before dawn, no sunlight reaches the Earth. But once it gets to about 164,000 feet, a little bit of red illuminates, and then at 213,000 feet, yellow, and then it becomes bright white once you get up to above 262,000 feet. That's like 50 miles up, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, it's in one of the outermost layers of the atmosphere, and we're talking temperatures that are so cold, they're like negative 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's freezing, but that's the type of conditions we have to have in order for them to happen.
Yeah, it creates ice crystals that refract and reflect the sunlight, and so it could be night here on the ground, but up there it's daytime because it's 50 miles high. So what you're seeing are high altitude ice crystals in the mesosphere, and it happens at extreme heights, again, over 50 miles. But one of the things that is really interesting, and Jessica and I have been looking at this, the Starlink satellites will orbit up to about 200 to about 370 miles high, and so these clouds are happening over 150 miles below the satellite, so they're true clouds.
Yeah, and it's really cool when you are actually able to see them. We can't see them, though, obviously, during the daytime hours. When the sun actually does come up, it's much harder to see them, but they're really fascinating and make for great photos.
And it's a Space Coast exclusive. Typically, they only happen when you get a big meteor that comes in an extremely rare feat, leaving behind a smoke trail. But here, it's commonplace. So that's a scoop on the shimmering skies, the Noctilucent clouds. Back to you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Something that actually just happened while we were here on our stream was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, and this is actually causing some tsunami warnings in Alaska. So this was reported as a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, and I'm going to absolutely butcher this. So Petropavlovsk, Russia. So again, a little bit of geography here. Alaska is right here, so the very, very outer islands is under right now its tsunami warning because of an earthquake that just happened within the past couple of minutes in Russia. So you'll probably hear a good amount of that through the rest of the overnight tonight, so heads up for that. I know Noah's going to be talking about that a little bit later on, but again, just something that just happened while we were here on stream about an earthquake that happened in Russia, and again, parts of Alaska right now under tsunami warnings, as we can see right on the outer bands of Alaska and the outer islands of Alaska, right now under tsunami warnings. So fingers crossed, nobody gets hurt, or if there is a tsunami, it's only registered only as a couple of inches of a tsunami because of the force of this earthquake. We are about to wrap up here, but I do want to just pop up your 7-day real quick and take this full so you can see it. This is what it's looking like for the rest of your work week. We're going to see those temperatures staying pretty consistent, lingering throughout the upper 80s and low 90s. Again, taking a look at the weekend, going to continue to see those rain chances on the rise, especially for the back half of the weekend. Saturday, pretty much a copy and paste of today and tomorrow. That's what it's going to be like on Saturday. Sunday, a little bit more of that rain, and then a good amount more of that rain. Taking a look Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as we see those sea breezes back in action. Taking a look a little bit later on this weekend and the start of the work week. Also going to be seeing the humidity back in action as well. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you'll see those temperatures rising up into the 90s, but also you'll notice those overnight lows going to be heating up as well. And again, that's not only just due to more of that cloud cover that kind of acts like a blanket through the overnight tonight because of the rain, but also because the humidity, that's really, these clouds are quite literally acting like a blanket, kind of just trapping everything in through the next couple of nights. So you will definitely notice it will be a good amount more sticky, especially for the back half of the weekend and start of the work week. So hope everyone has not only a great weekend, but also has a great Friday as well. I know for tomorrow, little bit of a heads up, myself as well as TJ Springer, we're going to be heading to high schools tomorrow morning. We're both going to be doing at a pep rally for 2 schools that are going to be facing off tomorrow. It's our game of the week, Mount Dora versus South Lake. So you'll want to tune in to Good Day Orlando tomorrow. And we'll have a couple of clips there so that we can show you here on the stream and give you your Friday night football forecast coming up tomorrow. So you'll definitely want to tune in. Same time, same place. We'll see you then.
Put it up on the Sports Zone. Hey everybody, welcome into the Fox 35 Sports Zone. Jonah Karp, Sean Green, Evan Collins. Making a little bit of history today, guys. It's the first live show. Welcome in. We're going to keep growing this thing. We're going to find ways to include you guys as we progress, and we're going to have updates as we roll this thing along. For today's show, we're going to talk about this UNC-UCF game. Big game on Saturday, right here on Fox 35. Should be a fun game. Sean, what are your what do you want to talk about going into this game?
There's so much to talk about, John.
So much.
I mean, obviously, the story of the game is Bill Belichick coming to Orlando. I think that's what everybody kind of is talking about. But I think ultimately on the UCF fan side, is UCF better than maybe we think? And I think that's what the thing we could talk about for a minute is this UCF team decent, or are they not so good as many suspected this season?
Yeah. You know, it should be fun watching Bill Belichick come into town. This bounce house is going to be bouncing.
They haven't been bouncing the first couple of games because of the weather delays and people leaving and stuff and lesser opponents, but it's going to be bouncing. Like, if you've ever been to the bounce house when a big opponent comes to town, like Bill Belichick's about to do, like it's going to be fun. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere.
You know, some people are calling this the 1998 Jets Bowl with Scott Frost and Bill Belichick. Scott Frost was drafted by the Jets in '98, played for Bill Belichick. Great season for the Jets, by the way. I think they went like 12-4.
That defensive staff was stacked.
Yeah.
If you look at
I mean, I think Romeo Crennel was on. Yeah,
Romeo Crennel.
That defensive staff was stacked.
I mean, look, we know Belichick's a defensive wizard. we know he likes to take out the opponent's best player. This is a defense that's performed statistically well over the last 2 weeks. Not that they've played high-profile opponents, though.
Yeah, and that's why you can't look at necessarily. They haven't allowed a touchdown the last 2 weeks, and those were against Charlotte and Richmond. Charlotte's one of the worst teams in the group of 5, if we're being honest, just over the course. Richmond is an FCS school, so I think good things from the defense, especially after that first week. And there's some stats to show that they've improved, but there's still some things that need to get cleaned up, which could help UCF. But this is a different beast. They're not playing Richmond, and guess what? UCF's not playing North Carolina A&T. So I think that's where this game's kind of a toss-up in terms of talent.
Yeah. We don't know who the starting quarterback's going to be, although Taven Jackson, he's been playing well. I mean, if it is a quarterback controversy, why would you take Taven Jackson out of the starting quarterback?
I would not take Taven out. I think Taven probably deserves to start this week at least. Give Cam maybe another week of practice, and if you want to have more of a battle going into next week, then we can have that conversation. But I mean, Taven's had the last 2 weeks, or pretty much a game and a half, and he's played pretty darn well. And Frost talked about that too. He's like, I'm more impressed with his preparation than I've ever been before. So I think he has led them pretty well offensively these last 2 weeks. So I think it's his job to lose right now.
What's impressed you about the UCF offense?
I'm going to be honest, not really much. If we're being, and listen, I'm trying to
brutally honest.
Listen, like last week was a better week than week 1. Week 1 was a real struggle, and I think it was just Cam Fancher started, got hurt, didn't look all that good early. Then Taven came in. I think had to try and figure it out as he went. Last week, the week before last week, he really kind of settled in, but he wasn't perfect.
No.
There were some throws he should have made. He really started out strong, and then as the game kind of went on, especially in that second quarter, missed some throws he should have made. But I think he's probably gotten more comfortable over the last couple weeks. I think he's clearly, in my opinion, the most talented quarterback on the roster. So to that point, I think he's earned the starting role. But then again, you kind of throw it in where does a quarterback lose his starting job because of an injury?
And that's the thing, right? Fancher didn't lose his job. He got injured. And he did win the job out of camp. So,
that first quarter, though, in that first game was rough.
It was rough.
You could make the argument he was going to get pulled before the injury anyway.
Well, we don't know that.
But we don't know that for certain. We just know he was not playing good football. And do you throw him, if he is healthy and he's able to play, do you throw him out there against an actual opponent?
Yeah.
This isn't a North Carolina A&T where you can kind of throw him out there and let the chips fall where they may. This is a game that actually kind of matters.
Are we seeing the benefits of drawing out a quarterback competition to the end of camp? Because now you have Taven Jackson, who has been playing very good football for all intents and purposes with the starting group. I would imagine throughout camp he was practicing with the first unit, just like Cam Fancher was, and just like Ja'Carri Brown was. If it was a legitimate quarterback competition, you would have all 3 guys sharing first unit reps, right?
Yes, and I think the staff did the right thing. We don't know how they divvied it up, but we do know that they all were getting reps with the first team and they were switching them out. We know Cam Fancher won it because of his amount of starts in college football, but I think Taven has finally cared. I think that was kind of the issue with Taven was when we saw him in spring, he was by far the best thrower of the football. He was, in my opinion, the best quarterback out of all of them. But I think ultimately it came down to Taven almost needed to lose the job to kind of have that, now I care. And now you're kind of seeing the benefits after that. But he's got to keep it up, and we'll see who starts this Saturday.
So now we have a UCF team coming off a bye week and coming off momentum. I mean, you had a close game in game 1 and then a blowout game in game 2, a game they were not only supposed to win, but win handily against an FCS opponent. But momentum's a real thing, right? So, I mean, that's a positive going into this UNC game, no?
It is. Definitely them playing last week. I think there's positives and negatives. Them playing last week definitely helps. You stay fresh, you stay focused. You won handedly, so that helps boost some confidence. I think Gio Lopez is a guy that needs that confidence. Didn't play all that good last week, really the whole season, but he kind of needed getting those reps. But I think for UCF last week, getting the week off, kind of reevaluating, focusing on the things you